What's up guys, and welcome to another session with the D365 blogger. And today we're going to look at how we can get data from an external web API to Dynamics 365 custom engagement using Microsoft Flow. And for today's example, what I'm using is getting the currency data from an external web API to Dynamics 365 CE. So as we all know, the Dynamics 365 custom engagement has a entity to maintain the exchange rate of various currencies that we use in our instance, and we can find that under business management. So if you go into the currencies table, you can see all the currency records that are associated with our instance. So for this example, I've got Australian dollars, I've got New Zealand dollar, the British pound, and the Sri Lankan rupee in this instance, and I'm using US dollar as my base currency. So what I'm doing is I am connecting to an external web API that basically provides the exchange rates, and I'm retrieving the respective exchange rate for each of these currencies, and I'm updating them automatically using Microsoft Flow. Now for this example, I am using this currency provider that basically provides the exchange rates via a API, and the API response will appear in this format. So basically I will get all the exchange rates that I want through this web API. So one thing to keep in mind is if you compare the currency codes that are returned from the API versus the currency codes that are stored in Dynamics 365 CE, you can clearly see there's a mismatch here. All the currency codes retrieved from the web API has USD in front as a prefix, whereas the currency codes that I store in Dynamics 365 CE just had the currency code on its own. So this is going to be a problem when we try to retrieve the currency codes from the web API, as well as look up the currency codes in CE using Microsoft Flow. So just keep that in mind. I will show you how I overcame this problem in Microsoft Flow. So if you go into Microsoft Flow, so this is the flow that I have written to retrieve the currency data. I am triggering this flow every day, so that is my first step. And as my second step, I have created a variable called exchange rates. In my third step, I am calling the web API and I'm retrieving all of the exchange rates from the web API. In the next step, I am retrieving all the currency records in my Dynamics 365 CE currency table. In here I'm retrieving all of the currency records except for USD, because USD is my base currency and I don't want the USD value to be updated. I want everything else apart from USD to be updated. In my next step, what I'm doing is I am identifying the individual currency record using the currency ID value. So in my next step is where I am addressing the issue I had before between the mismatch of the currency codes. So in here I have written a function. So basically what I'm doing is I'm looking at the body of the get record step, which is this step over here, and I'm taking the currency code from this step. So basically this will retrieve the currency code that is stored in Dynamics 365 custom engagement. Once I get that, I'm concatenating that with USD, which means now I will have a currency code that will match my API response. So I will have a currency code that has USD as well as the currency code that is retrieved from Dynamics 365 custom engagement. And once I have that currency code, I am retrieving the exchange rate inside the codes tab. So if you go into my exchange response, you can see that in here all of my exchange rates are given inside this codes tab. So I'm searching for the respective currency values inside the codes tab. So once I have received the right exchange rate, I'm updating the Dynamics 365 CE currency record. So in here I'm using the update function in Flow, and I'm using the transaction ID that I retrieved from the get record function over here, and I'm updating that with the exchange rate value, which is stored in this variable. So that is how I'm getting the data from the external web API and updating them on the Dynamics 365 customer engagement currencies table. So let's run this. So if you go into my exchange rates over here, these are the exchange rates that I have at the moment, and if you compare that to the values returned from the web API, they are a little different. So if you notice, this is currently sitting at 1.7. The actual Australian dollar exchange rate is 1.3, and if you look at the Sri Lankan rupee, it's at 200, but the actual is 177. So if the web API runs successfully, all of these records should have the latest value. So let's go to Microsoft Flow and run this and see how it goes. So here I am. I have executed the Microsoft Flow, and I can see it has gone through and updated the values successfully. And if I hit refresh, you can see now the latest values are there. So it is a quite good way to get simple data from external web APIs into Dynamics 365 CE using Microsoft Flow. I hope you guys have enjoyed this solution, and I will see you soon with another tip on Dynamics 365 custom engagement. Thank you.